Hey guys, welcome back to the True Walk Podcast. My name is Zach, and today I have a great one for you. So, it's been a very, very long time since we last posted. I think it was December 19th, maybe. So, quick recap, quick rundown of what has happened since then. I graduated December 12th, so I was graduated when we last posted, but graduated. That's pretty cool. What else happened? January 1st, crazy week of sporting events. January 1st, went down to Miami to watch Texas Tech, Oregon play in the Orange Bowl. And then January 6th, watched Florida, Georgia basketball. And then January 9th, went to Atlanta to watch Indiana and Oregon play in the Peach Bowl. So pretty busy week. Other than that, not a ton has happened. Went to Gatlinburg for winter conference for Crossroads. Got to serve at that. What a great time that was. Got to hang out with all the people I met from camp. Great experience. 10 out of 10 recommend. Now, during that time of travel and all the things that happened during that time, something I feel the Lord spoke to me so clearly on is distractions. And so over the next few weeks, we were going into a series about distractions. So first, this is just a video or a podcast to kind of lay out what we're going over there for the next few weeks, okay? So I think it's important to figure out what a distraction is. Now, distraction, simply put, it's a thing that prevents someone from giving their full attention to something else. Very simple, right? Think about school. You're sitting in a classroom, the teacher's teaching, but you're in a conversation. That's a distraction. You can't focus on both things. Now, what does that mean for us as Jesus followers or followers of Jesus? So one thing I want you to be very clear on and understand that distractions don't mean that you don't love Jesus. They just reveal what's competing for your attention. And the good news is like your attention can be retrained. So I think that's just a simple way to put what a distraction is and kind of what I'm looking at over the next few weeks to spread to you guys about what a distraction is. So basically, it's something that prevents you from focusing on something else. Okay? And again, this doesn't mean that you don't love Jesus if you're distracted. Right? It just shows things that are competing for your attention. Now, what does it mean for me to be distracted and follow Jesus at the same time? I think there's a bigger question to ask. Can I follow Jesus and be distracted at the same time? Simply put, yes, of course you can be distracted and follow Jesus at the same time. The problem is not if you follow Jesus or not if Jesus is this or that. The problem is Jesus the center of your life? It's not about the time you're giving to other things. It's about the time you're giving to other things over the kingdom of God. Right? Because at the end of the day, you're going to have distractions. You're going to have work. You're going to have school. You're going to have wanting to go to the gym. You're going to have wanting to chill out and sit on your phone. But how much of that time are you spending being distracted, or how much of that time are you spending in God's word, in the kingdom? Now, we divide our commitment with God and the world. That's just what it is. That's how the world works. Simply put it, that is just what your life is. You have to constantly, continuously battle between the things of this world and the things of the kingdom. But the thing is, you're always going to have that struggle. Right? There's pastors that do all this stuff and preach on every Sunday, but I guarantee you there's a distraction somewhere in their life. There is all these things. You look at Paul. He wrote almost half the New Testament, a great guy, all the things. But there was a thorn in his side. There was a distraction, something that kept him from the glory of God. So the problem with distractions and following Jesus is that they cut our time that we spend with God. They close off our communication, not because he closes off the communication, but because we do it. We're the reason that we're the ones that have to reach out to him because he's already reached out. You have that one friend that's like, hey, bro, I'm going to call you 7 times. But at some point, it's like, hey, bro, can you call me one point? Like no, bro, Jesus already did that. We're past that. And ultimately, distractions are things that divide our commitments. So, simply put, to finish off the can I follow Jesus, be distracted, what does it mean for me to be distracted and follow Jesus at the same time? Basically, it just divides our commitments. Because your biggest commitment, Paul writes this a bunch in the Old Testament, Paul writes this a bunch in the New Testament, and he says, like, the things of this world are for here, like, eternity is the things we should have our mind on. In Colossians 3, 1 and 2, since then you've been raised with Christ, set your hearts on things above, where Christ is seated at the right hand of God. Set your mind on the things that are above. And what that means is, like, I think there's a realization that you're going to have things that you're going to think about now and try to discern and work through and struggle with, and distractions that you're going to struggle with. But don't set your mind on those things. Set your mind on things that are above. So over the last month, I would say some distractions that I kind of felt convicted about, or even distractions that I kind of noticed in my own life. As I told you guys, a bunch of travel in a span of a week, a bunch of things going on. So just a bunch of those things. And so distractions is something I feel like God has led me to speak to you guys about, because it's so obvious and apparent in our lives, and that I think there's this point where we kind of get in this headspace that we can't really change our distractions. But some distractions I want to talk about over the next few weeks is hurry and busyness. I feel we get so caught up in our work, our school, our sports, our jobs. Well, I guess working jobs is the same thing, but you get the point. I feel like there's so much emphasis on our hurry that we don't slow down and just be with Jesus. I think we, in a time now where COVID was a thing a few years ago, we kind of get distracted in our thoughts, maybe even slip into overthinking a lot. I think one of the biggest distractions that I probably struggle with, and probably you too, and maybe not you, but for me, I know it's definitely a big struggle for me, social media. I love to sit down and watch some IG reels or whatnot. So social media is a massive distraction that I feel like, if not taken care of, it can quickly drag us down a rabbit hole. I think another one that we'll be going over is politics. I feel like politics are such a massive distraction, especially for followers of Jesus, because, politics, I mean, we're talking about other people and this side or that side. It's like, bro, that doesn't even matter. So I think politics is a massive distraction, and I'll get way more into that when that comes. So just be on the lookout for that one. And with all of these, like, I don't believe any of these are specifically bad, right? I think it's okay to be hurry and busy and other things, but I think there's a balance. I think there's a clear balance between the two. I think our thoughts are something that we have to hash out and think about, but also I think when it comes to overthinking and I can't even walk outside my door because I've overthought about this or that, or whatever that looks like, or social media, when I'm sitting there on my phone for 8 to 9 hours a day scrolling TikTok, Instagram, and I haven't read my word in 3 weeks. I think that's where the problem comes in. Or if politics, it's like I have this stance in this way, when it's like, that doesn't even make sense, because Jesus would not have that stance. And again, I think to just wrap all this up into the theme of what I want to discuss with you guys over the next few weeks is, Jesus is not asking for a distraction-free life. As I told you, like, distractions are going to happen. You're going to get busy. You're going to want to overthink. You're going to be lost in social media on your 17th massive cat reel. Like, that's just what's going to happen. Some people, you might even get lost in politics, like whatever that looks like. But Jesus wants one that is centered around him. He wants a life that is centered around him. So I think one thing that I'd encourage you with in figuring out is, well, why does this matter? Why does living a distracted-free life? Gotcha. We're not living a distracted-free life. We know we can't live a distracted-free life, right? Because we are human. That is a humanistic part of our life, is we can't live distracted-free. But I think looking into how this matters can show why it's important to know this. We give our attention to things that we love. Okay? I love Jesus. Right? The first thing that I would hope that you think of when I meet you is, wow, this guy loves Jesus or knows who Jesus is. But also, I'm a Georgia fan, right? You see the little dog right there? I would much rather you know that I love Jesus more than that I love Georgia. But the things that we love shapes our lives, and also it shapes our actions. So you hear a lot about wake up, fall in love with Jesus each and every day. How often do you do that? How often then do you get on your phone and scroll a couple hours a day on TikTok and Instagram? And this is not directed towards you. I'm literally talking to myself right now as well. Like, how often do I wake up and think about putting on the full armor of God each and every morning? Because that's what I have to do. Because I cannot do it on my own. Or do I just sit there and wake up and like, I got 30 minutes before I got to get ready to go to work. Let me hop on Instagram real quick. Let me watch a YouTube video. Let me do all these things that is not spend time with God. So I think it's important to have that realization that this is not a, oh my gosh, I'm going to hell because I have distractions, to say, oh my gosh, I do have distractions. I do have things that are taking a hold in my life more than I want. And again, like, these are going to be something that you're going to continuously fight and battle with. You're going to continuously have distractions in your life. I'm 22, so, if I have a wife, kids, a family, a job, got to work out, got to eat, got to do all the things, like, that sounds like a busy day. Or maybe, I don't have a wife or kids. Maybe I don't have a job. Don't know how that would work out, but if it did, cool. Anyways, what I'm saying is this, is like, all these things are going to happen and you're going to get busy. Right? You look at, just in general, like just regular families. I mean, or even in my life now, I can go through my life and show you all my distractions. I wake up, I go to work, I come home, I have to go to the gym, I have to cook, and then I hang out. I might have to go to another job. Like it all, like, is what it is. Like, there's all these distractions that we live with. And I think, again, the important thing to remember is that God is not asking for a distraction for your life. Like, it is literally, He is asking you to just put Him at the center of your life. Because once you put Him at the center of your life, what's going to happen is this, is, how we just talked about, the things that you love are the things that you become, or the things that you do. And I think if you put Him at the center of your life, that is the thing that you love the most. And that is the thing that you're going to be able to show to people the most. So I think it's important to really remember, too, that there's so many distractions in this world, right? The world's fun. People are fun to hang out with. Parties could be fun to go to. Scrolling Instagram Reels is fun to do. Hanging out with your boys, going to Topgolf, and just not reading a day is probably something that's fun to do. Like, all these things are so fun. And all these things are so real. But I think there's this reality where those things can be controlled. And let's go back up and talk about the things that can be controlled. Your hurry and busyness can be controlled by actions that you take. Hey, you know what? I have a full day plan. Let me wake up an hour early to spend time with God. Hey, let me slow down in my car and make my 20-minute drive a 30-minute drive and just spend 10 extra minutes with God. Hey, I'm really overthinking right now. How do I combat these thoughts? And I think the only way that I've ever found to do that is hopping in the Word of God, like hopping in Scripture and like seeing what God has to say about my thoughts. Social media, it's like, I'm gonna be real with you. Scrolling Instagram is so fun. Being on TikTok for a little bit is so fun. Watching big cats walk around, or I had a video sent to me today of a chunky cat that was, like, I think a dude had a fork or something. It was like about to poke it. Obviously, wasn't gonna poke it. And then it started fighting because it was too big to run away. And that's what the caption said. Like, that's awesome. But also, I think the reality is there something that we have to rewire in our minds to make sure that God is at the center of our lives. Because for me, it's so much easier to put hurry and busyness in the front of my life. I got to get this done. I got this done. I'm so busy. Da da da. And it's like, just slow down. I think our thoughts and overthinking, especially in a time where we lived in COVID, where, I went on a 2-week spring break, but then it turned into a whole semester spring break. And it was like this uncertainty. And I think, you know, during that time, there were so many thoughts that people got comfortable with their overthinking, and they begin to make this something that's normal for them. And not that overthinking is this massive problem, or overthinking is something that's unnatural, but I think it's something that can be super unhealthy if it's not dealt with. Or social media. Again, I think we already talked about it, but how many hours a day are we spending in the Word compared to social media? I can guarantee you my time in the Bible is probably way less than it is on social media, which is terrible. Or politics. How much time, and maybe not us, maybe older ages, or maybe even us. I mean, there's a lot of unrest right now. There's a lot of ICE stuff. There's a lot of, wars over in the Middle East stuff, like all of these things. I remember when I was like, about what was I? I would have been 6th grade maybe. Yeah, 6th grade, dude. I thought Russia was going to bomb us. I thought like there was no hope for us, bro. I thought we were all just thrashed. And in 6th grade, here I am like, bro, we're going to get bombed by Russia, dude. Again, I don't remember the context of that, but I do remember that was like a thought that I had, and I was like in a Taco Bell with my mom, like, Mom, we're going to get bombed, bro. Like, we're cooked. That was a funny story, but I do remember that. And it's like, obviously that didn't happen. But, through the politics, then I went to overthinking, and then here I am looking on social medias, or maybe I was just looking stuff up at that point. I don't know if I had social media when I was in 6th grade. But either way, it was something that I thought we were thrashed for a good little bit. And I made that like a thought that was at the front of my mind for a while. But I think the important thing is for me, like, I know my distractions. I know that if I sit in my bed 30 minutes after I wake up, I've probably spent 29 minutes and 47 seconds on Instagram, which is something I have to rewire in my head. I know if I go hang out with the boys, like, yeah, we're probably listening to worship music, and yeah, we're probably, doing something that is not bad in any way, but I don't think I'm consciously putting effort into this thinking about God. And I think, again, the biggest thing is that, and the thing that I want to drive with you guys is that there is no shame in being distracted. There is distractions, and it's going to happen. I think the reality is we have to figure out what our distractions are, and we have to combat those with thoughts that are from the Lord. Because if we don't, we will allow ourselves to get distracted even more. See, I think the biggest thing that people don't recognize, and that it had to be said to me for me to understand it, is that the enemy doesn't need you to straight out deny God. He doesn't need you to do this thing where, oh, God's not real or this or that. It's like, no, God just needs you. But the enemy just needs you to be distracted from his plan for your life. I think that's so neat, because it's like, why does that matter? And I think that just shows how much that you matter to God and to the furtherment of his kingdom. Because you have stories I can never speak to anybody. I have stories that you can never speak to. I have stories that make me speak to people that you could never speak to. Anyways, I think that's so neat and so cool. I think that shows the importance of understanding our distractions. So my question that I want to leave you guys with, and I want you to think over the next week or a few weeks as I continue to dive into these series a little bit more, is, so what are things that are distracting you? Is politics a massive distractor in your life? Is overthinking a massive distractor in your life? What about hurry and busyness? Are those practices and games and PlayStation stuff? I don't know. Whatever a distraction is that is causing you hurry and busyness in your life, what is that? And also, is social media a massive distraction? So I think by answering those questions, we at least shine light in the darkness of the vast field of things that distract us. And I think one more verse that I really want to put into you guys is Hebrews 12:1-2. Therefore, since we are surrounded by such a great cloud of witness, let us throw off everything that hinders and the sin that so easily entangles. So like we're trying to throw off everything that hinders us and sin that so easily, like it's known it's going to be easy to entangle us. And let us run with the perseverance, the race marked out for us, fixing our eyes. When you fix your eyes, that means you make it something you're paying the attention to, something that is the forefront of your thoughts, in your mind, in your heart, in your desires. Fixing our eyes on Jesus, the pioneer and the perfecter of faith. Again, I think all of this, just to wrap up, is like Jesus does not need you not to be distracted ever. It's known. Jesus just needs you to continuously reshape and refocus your mind and mindset on the things of his kingdom. Because this world is right now. There's people that are not saved and will never know what eternity is like because of our distractions. And that is not a shame or a shot at anybody. Again, I am guilty as charged with the distractions myself. But I think we have to renew and rewire our minds to consciously think about the distractions that we struggle with to ensure that we're putting the kingdom first. Dude, I don't know what just happened, but my throat got dry. Anyways, so over the next couple weeks, like I said, we're going to have a series going on of distractions, and it's going to be hurry and busyness, personal thoughts and overthinking, social media, and politics. That's kind of my plan. I hope that this is something that can help you, and also while helping you, I pray this helps me as well, change my thoughts and rewire my thoughts, because your thoughts can be rewired. You can work on your thoughts to make them more in line with the kingdom of heaven. I think that is so special. But anyways, that is all that I have for you on this one. I do hope that this speaks to you in some form or some way. And I hope that you can follow along. I think this is something that's super practical and super easy to kind of get a grasp of. And I think it's so real. I think it's something that we overlook all the time. But anyways, that's it for this one. I'll see you in the next one. I appreciate you guys.